بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين الذي بعث رحمة للعالمين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين. اللهم صل على محمد. Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight is a very unique and special occasion. The anniversary of the birth of a person of extraordinary trait and characters, unmatched after the Holy Prophet. The Holy Quran identifies him as the nafs or the soul of the Holy Prophet. In the story of Mubahala, ندعو أبناءنا وأبناءكم ونساءنا ونساءكم وأنفسنا وأنفسكم. And universally accepted between both schools of thoughts, Mufassirin, that nafs, it was in reference to Ali ibn Abi Talib. The Holy Prophet said that he is my soul. And we have a number of other ahadith clearly stating the same thing. After the Holy Prophet, there is no other person in the early history of Islam or until the end of history of Islam that comes close as far as the character or the trait and even considered close or equal to Amir al-Mu'minin. Huge amount of literature exists by a number of authors, and they all have to admit when it comes to Amir al-Mu'minin, words and even any writing will not be sufficient to encapsulate the character of Amir al-Mu'minin, because Amir al-Mu'minin is considered to be a multifaceted character. There is a hadith that says, جُمِعَتْ فِيكَ الْأَضْدَادُ. So, based on that, with the time available, both myself and the other celebration that is going to take place, inshallah, after, I don't think we will be doing anything more than a scratching of the surface. Yes, certainly we celebrate, we offer our greeting to our living Imam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasten his return and congratulate him on the occasion. But it's not time. We simply don't have enough time to be able to explain who Amir al-Mu'minin was. In 2002 and 2003, when United Nations, UNESCO were trying to establish a character with the universal value, they had to come to Shia Islam and identify Amir al-Mu'minin as that unique character. Particularly, they focused on his letter to Malik al-Ashtar with regard to the governance, the ideal governance in Egypt. So, we can't say much beyond stating some biographical facts and focusing on one or two attributes. Scholars claim that the only way that one could talk about Amir al-Mu'minin salawatullah wassalamu alayhi is to pick up one of his attributes, one of his characters, and simply focus upon it. To avoid talking about generalities about this individual, that there is no possibility of anyone accepting it or understanding it. There is a hadith clearly underscores this value. Ya Ali, nobody recognized or understood Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala apart from me and you. And nobody understood me apart from Allah and you. And nobody understands you apart from Allah and me. That by itself clearly defines who Ali is, that only Allah and the Holy Prophet understand who he is. But tonight, following the theme that we were talking about in the last few lectures, I want to bring Amir al-Mu'minin salawatullah wassalamu alayhi, and particularly Nahj al-Balagha, into the discussion. This short saying, ألا وإن لكل مأموم إماما يقتدى به. Every follower should have an imam and a leader that you will follow. ويستضيء بنور علمه. And you follow the guidelines and the knowledge and the directive that this imam is providing for you. ألا وإن إمامكم, your leader, قد اكتفى من دنياه بطمريه ومن طعمه بقرصيه. Your leader has settled down to have 2 shirts that constantly repairs them. Timr in Arabic, classical Arabic language, means shirt that has been used again and again and again and literally close to disintegration. Amir al-Mu'minin, in one of the khutbahs that delivered in Kufa, reminding people of Kufa, I walked into your city with these 2 shirts. If I walk away from it and gathered more than these 2 shirts, you have every right to criticize me. In this hadith, that part of a chastisement that Amir al-Mu'minin gives to his governor in Egypt, in Basra, Uthman ibn Hunayf. The story goes that Uthman was invited to a rich man's house during the month of Ramadan. And as is the habit with the wealthy individuals, they want to show off. They lay the table and offer all kinds of foods and everything else. So Uthman goes over there and joins the table and eats. The news comes to Amir al-Mu'minin salawatullah wassalamu alayhi, immediately dismisses him from the post. And if you go and read the letter, alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah, the letter that he sent to Uthman ibn Hunayf, Yabna Hunayf, he even doesn't bother to call him by his first name. Yabna Hunayf, how could you? You go and participate in some kind of this table that has been laid down for you with all kinds of foods available, never thinking that in your localities there were those that they don't remember the last time that they had full stomach. You, as my representative, should not have done that. And then comes Imam says this, Allah wa inna likull ma'mumin imam. Every follower has to have a leader. And that leader exemplifies, typifies the values that we have to follow. If we call ourselves followers of Ahlul Bayt or Shi'at Amir al-Mu'minin, well, Ali stands over here as the example. Imam says that I have only 2 shirts that I constantly repair it. There is another hadith that says, Even the person that repairs my shirt constantly criticizes me to throw it away. But I say, why should I? The reward is not in this world. The reward is in the hereafter. ألا وإنكم, the same letter. ألا وإنكم لا تقدرون على ذلك. You cannot organize a lifestyle, austere lifestyle, the way I have organized mine. In another khutbah in Nahj al-Balagha says, my example or metaphor that I could use is the example of a strong tree by itself in the middle of the mountain that survives all the climate changes that take place. You cannot do it. ولكن أعينوني بورع واجتهاد وعفة وسداد. I want to focus on this. As the month of Ramadan is getting close, Sha'ban and Ramadan, wara' is by definition extreme taqwa and God consciousness. So Imam is asking us to be God conscious all the time. Wara'in, and we have a number of ahadith from the Holy Prophet. For example, one, لكل شيء أس وأس الإيمان الورع. Everything has a root, has a principle, has a foundation, and Iman and faith, the essence of Iman is wara', to be God conscious and staying away from anything that might put somebody in a compromising situation. They say the nearest example to it in the theological sense is muhtat. You have doubt as to whether something is hurtful or not, or could be sinful or not. You stay away from it. So wara' is a unique condition or height of taqwa that you reach the point that you stay away from even anything that has possibility of falling into the trap of sinfulness. Ijtihad. It's a reminder that in the light of what we are going through and the life of this world being the transient world, and the eternal life is the hereafter, and that's where we have to move to, it's not going to be gained easily. You need a struggle. Concept of jihad here. So taqwa, the ultimate height of God consciousness, is not going to happen without struggle. Then what? The next one, wa'iffa. Iffa means abstinence, to stay away from all sinfulness. And sudad means to be pious, one of the meaning of it. So, Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah salam alayhi, as the leader of our community, as somebody that they say Shi'at, well-known Shi'atu Ali, we are followers of Amir al-Mu'mineen, is setting for us the example of what, not the austere lifestyle that he goes through. No, at least follow with these basic understanding of responsibility that we have. Now, the same idea of what we need to do, Amir al-Mu'mineen outlines in a different hadith, in a different letter in Nahj al-Balagha, and that is a wasiyyah to Imam Hassan. Now, we have, as parents, have been discussing during our conversation as our responsibility, particularly for those who have children. How should we deal, how should we bring up our children in this critical condition that we live in? Go and read letter number 31 in Nahj al-Balagha, in which Amir al-Mu'mineen starts giving wasiyyah or advice to Imam Hassan. But before he gets to the major point of what I want to focus upon, Imam lays the foundation. First, It reminds Imam Hassan why I'm writing this letter and a wasiyah for you. Number one, من الوالد الفان مقر للزمان المدبر للعمر المستسلم للدهر الساكن مساكن الموتى. I know I am departing sooner or later. So as a father, on the one hand, there is an urgency that I am departing. I need to give advice. And on the other hand, you are young and still your mind is clean, and I should provide you with this before your minds are poisoned. Now, for those of us that have children, education and teaching our children doesn't come at the age of 14, 15, 16. Doesn't start then. It has to start early on, before the TV, public media, and everything else poisons their mind. And now we have crises around about poisoning our children. So this idea has to start from early on. Then Imam identifies three major points which underscores what we just discussed. Number one within this, that understand your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and know who you are. Man arifa nafsah faqad arafa rabbah. So it talks about the relationship between us. وَعْلَمْ يَا بُنَيَّ first starts with teaching how to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, concept of Tawheed. لو كان لربك شريك لأتتك رسله. If God had a partner, then that partner would have sent their messengers. وَلَرَأَيْتَ آثَارُ مُلْكِهِ وَسُلْطَانَهِ. They would have seen the other signs of glory of that second. وَلَعَرَفْتَ أَفْعَالَهُ وَلَكِنَّهُ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ كَمَا وَصَفَ نَفْسَهُ. There is only one. Concept of Tawheed in understanding yourself is critical. Now, هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن. Everything. Once reminds his son of the concept of Tawheed, then reminds him of who he is, understanding oneself. This issue that has been discussed in other فَاعْتَصِمْ. We have in Surah Al-Asr, الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. These four conditions are necessary for stability. First, Iman. And this is where Imam lays the foundation that Iman is critical and faith is critical here. Then moves about the dunya. يا بني إني قد أنبأتك عن الدنيا وحالها. Look at the world. I have went back to the history and stepped in the footprint of those people who lived before me. And I learned from them one thing. I understood what made them rise and what made them fall. What I'm giving you is the result of my understanding from the experience of looking at the back, at the previous nations. وأنبأتك عن الآخرة وما أعد لأهلها فيه. I'm telling you what you should prepare, because dunya is daru mafa. Somehow the time sooner or later is going to go. Now reminding of the hereafter and ma'ad, the role of ma'ad in understanding of the faith. وَعْلَمْ إِنَّ أَمَامَكَ. Remember this concept of ijtihad in the early hadith. وَعْلَمْ إِنَّ أَمَامَكَ طَرِيقًا ذَا مَسَافَةٍ بَعِيدَةٍ وَمَشَقَّةٍ شَدِيدَةٍ. Akhirah Jannah, closeness, however one's worldview, whether you come from mystical point that you say Jannah is closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or you say Jannah, there is a particular place that we are working to go in, that Imam is saying it's not going to come if we are disobedient of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and if we don't struggle and jihad. Go and read all scholars of Irfan. The notion of jihad against nafs al-ammara and staying on the right path is critical for success in the hereafter. In a nutshell, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, they have put it. Man kana lillahi muti'an fahuwa lana wali. We claim to be followers of Ahlul Bayt. This is the criteria. Man kana lillahi muti'an fahuwa lana wali. You can be Shia of Amir al-Mu'minin or Ahlul Bayt if you submit to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَنْ كَانَ لِلَّهِ عَاصِيًا فَهُوَ لَنَا عَدُوٌّ. In another hadith, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir salawatullah salam alayhi says, لا ينال شفاعتنا من كان لله عاصيا. If you don't submit to the command of Allah, we have this vague idea that Imams, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, Ahlul Bayt, they are going to come and do shafa'ah for us, while everything that we do in this world, all the lifestyle does not reflect any closeness to the Ahlul Bayt. To be more poignant and to the point, everything that we do is far from it. We have children, we have no plan for our children, for their future. We have children, even when we have children, we don't organize a particular quality time that we sit with our children and teach them. And then we expect them to come up, Abu Dhar, Salman Farsi, and everything else. The essence of the language, Arabic language, which is the language of Quran, the language of our history, the language of culture, our children are far from it. Quran, they cannot read. And this is their book. The living miracle of the Holy Prophet and Islam. Nothing. Why? It's not their fault. We as parents failed. We go out to work 9 to 5 in the afternoon. In the afternoon, we come home. I'm tired. I sit, I do nothing. Or as they say, couch potato. And wait. So who's going to look after the children? Then they reach the age of 14 and 15. You immediately whack them over the head. From tomorrow, you have to do prayer. You have to fast. You have to do this. You have to do that. Mentally unprepared, physically unable, emotionally not ready for anything. Amir al-Mu'minin starts with the wasiyah. He's telling Imam Hassan, reminding him of why he's giving them advice. I'm getting old, but you are still young. The heart of a young person is clean. We should implant before somebody else poisons their mind. And then reminds him that securing the hereafter is not going to be easy. Requires jihad. وإني قد بلغتك من الزاد من خفة الظهر. Keep your back and your very light, metaphorically speaking. Don't carry too many baggage on your back if you are planning to go along this path. فلا تحملن على ظهرك فوق طاقتك. If we really believe that this is the path that we are going to go, and we need to purify ourselves, this is month of Rajab. Rajab, Sha'ban, and ultimately Ramadan. When are we going to purify? When are we going to change? فلا تحملن على ظهرك فوق طاقتك فيكون ذلك وبالا. It's going to be a liability. Then Imam goes into and the concept of death and how Ma'ad is going to be critical and in our understanding of what is going to happen next. So if we really want to follow Ahlul Bayt, there's ample evidence. Amir al-Mu'minin makes it simple, wara', ijtihad, and iffa and sudad in a general sense. Then breaks it down into knowledge, understanding who you are, where you are, relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hereafter, your relationship with other people, the three major factors. But how much of this do we actually convey it to our children? When was the last time we even thought about writing a wasiyah for our sons and daughters? Or sat down with them to talk about these issues? Organize a few hours during the week. Don't give them more than 2 hours or 3 hours if you don't have it. But organize a few hours during the week for what we call quality time. Quality time not on business, quality time focusing on these issues. What do they understand from Amir al-Mu'minin salawatullah salam? Only a few biological facts. Was born in year, he was younger than the Holy Prophet by 30 years. And born in Mecca, 10 years before Ba'ath. Married Fatima al-Zahra, was with the Holy Prophet during all the time. Married Fatima al-Zahra, had a number of children. After the demise of the Holy Prophet, the issue of Saqifa, they took the Khilafah from him. And then he started around the age of 35 after Hijrah, he became an Imam, and then a couple of battles and died. Is this the unique character that we want to discuss? The legend? When was the last time we as Shias have read Nahj al-Balagha? Pick up a few ideas from Nahj al-Balagha. The concept of justice in Nahj al-Balagha. Family roles and responsibilities in Nahj al-Balagha. Far from it. I have said this in the previous lectures. We deal with with Ahlul Bayt only synopsis, anecdotal facts. Look what Amir al-Mu'minin by himself, according to a number of tradition, Salman comes to the house of Fatima al-Zahra, which is a small room. Asks Fatima, where is Ali? He is working outside the city of Medina, digging channels of water for a Jewish farmer. Takes the money, what does he do with it? Doesn't spend it on his family. Buys slaves and frees them for the sake of Allah subhanahu. Salman goes and sees him literally dead on the floor, on the ground. So he comes back to Fatima al-Zahra and says, look, he's not breathing. He says, Fatima says, this is part of Ali's life. During the day, he loses consciousness, fearing Allah subhanahu. If Ali does it that way, Abu Hamza Thumali, in about a month and a half from now, there is a story from him. It says, I went to Masjid al-Haram and I heard the noise, the sound close to Kaaba. I went close to it and I saw Imam Zain al-Abidin, salam unconscious. I picked up his head, put it on my lap, and I began to cry. My tears dropped on his face. He suddenly woke up. Imam said, who stopped me from being purely conscious of Allah subhanahu? Abu Hamza says, Ya ibn Rasulullah, you are the grandson of the Holy Prophet. If this is what you do, what chance do we have? Imam says, forget about what we call family trees and family relations. On the day of judgment, what criteria Allah judges people by is their deed, not wishful thinking. Jannah, however we define it, cannot be secured with hope. Requires preparation. And month of Rajab is supposed to be the beginning of that soul searching that we have to go through. By fasting, for proper fasting. If every day, every other day, every week within the month of Rajab, we are able to secure or remove one sin that we are habitually do it all the time, one sin, by the end of Ramadan, we will be able to change drastically. I know we have another program, celebration of the birth of Amir al-Mu'mενeen, salawatullah wassalamu alayhi. But listen to what Imam says. This path is arduous and requires struggle. It's not going to be easy. Imam says, shahawat, you can do it and an easy path. But if you want to stay on the right path and go and submit to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and purify yourself and be as close to that insan that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended to be. Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. What so far we have given the example is what the angels told and said, ataj'alu fiha. You're going to create somebody that literally lawless and follows the shahwa. Let's not forget about these opportunities. Once missed, we never know whether next Rajab we will be around, or next Sha'ban we will be around, or next Ramadan. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the privilege of following, not only claiming to be followers of Ahlul Bayt, but following the guidelines that Amir al-Mu'mενeen and Ahlul Bayt have laid down for us, which is going to be difficult, but inshallah, slowly and gradually we might be able to achieve something. Congratulations again for this occasion of the birth of Amir al-Mu'mενeen, salawatullah wassalamu alayhi. I advise you to go and read Nahj al-Balagha and few other khutbahs within Nahj al-Balagha and see what Amir al-Mu'mενeen, salawatullah wassalamu alayhi, says about Tawheed. There are professors, teachers in Hawza that they teach Nahj al-Balagha, and it's unbelievable what this book contains. Don't just read it, reflect on it. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.